In the quiet town of Ravensbrook, nestled between the shadows of ancient trees and the whispers of forgotten legends, lived a young woman named Alara. She was known for her vibrant smile and gentle demeanor, a beacon of light in a world tinged with darkness. But beneath that facade, Alara carried a secret burden that threatened to consume her. From a tender age, Alara had been plagued by intrusive thoughts, sinister whispers that slithered into her mind uninvited. At first, they were mere whispers, faint echoes of doubt that gnawed at the edges of her consciousness. But as time passed, the thoughts grew bolder, like ravenous beasts encroaching upon her sanity. It began innocently enough, with the thought of pushing a passerby into the path of an oncoming carriage. Horrified by her own mind, Alara would clasp her trembling hands over her ears, desperately trying to drown out the cruel suggestions. Yet, the more she resisted, the more the thoughts persisted, as if they were entities unto themselves, determined to take root in her psyche. Alara's nights became restless, her dreams tainted by twisted visions of darkness and despair. She saw herself committing unspeakable acts, each more horrifying than the last. She would wake up in a cold sweat, her heart racing, only to find herself wondering if the thoughts were not just dreams, but sinister premonitions of what she could become. Fearful of the growing darkness within her, Alara sought solace in the sanctuary of the town's ancient library. She delved into forgotten tomes, hoping to find an explanation, a cure, anything that could free her from the clutches of her own mind. One fateful evening, as rain drummed against the library's stained glass windows, she stumbled upon a book that seemed to call out to her. The book was bound in tattered leather, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and chilling tales of forbidden knowledge. One story, in particular, recounted the tale of a cursed amulet said to grant the power to control the thoughts of others. Alara's heart raced as she read on, her mind daring to consider the unthinkable. What if she could transfer her torment to someone else? The idea grew within her like a poisonous seed, taking root in the fertile soil of desperation. With trembling hands, she sketched a replica of the amulet described in the book, a sinister work of art that seemed to pulse with an eerie energy. Believing it to be the only way to save herself, she ventured into the heart of the forest, where legend spoke of a forgotten altar that held the key to unlocking dark powers. Under a moonless sky, the altar stood before her, its stones engraved with symbols that seemed to writhe like living creatures. With the replica amulet clutched in her hand, Alara recited incantations that felt like shards of ice in her throat. The very air grew heavy with malevolence as she completed the ritual, the amulet glowing with a sickly light. But as the light faded, Alara's heart sank. The intrusive thoughts, far from dissipating, seemed to multiply, echoing not only within her mind but also from the shadows around her. She stumbled back, horrified, as the thoughts gained voices, taking form as ghastly specters that whispered foul suggestions into her ears. The forest itself seemed to come alive with her fears, the trees contorting into grotesque shapes, the ground pulsating like a heart filled with malice. Alara realized, too late, that she had not gained control over her thoughts. Instead, she had unleashed them upon the world. The once peaceful town of Ravensbrook soon fell into chaos. Intrusive thoughts seeped into the minds of its residents, turning neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend. The town streets echoed with screams and madness as the thoughts grew stronger, feeding on the fear and discord they sowed. Alara, tormented by guilt and regret, took it upon herself to undo the curse she had wrought. She returned to the altar, this time with the true amulet in hand, hoping to reverse the dark magic. But the altar had changed. It now seemed to leer at her, a mocking monument to her folly. In a final desperate act, Alara shattered the cursed amulet upon the altar, unleashing a burst of blinding light that consumed her. The forest trembled, the earth shook, and the thoughts that had plagued her were banished, along with her. And so, the town of Ravensbrook lived on, haunted by memories of a time when intrusive thoughts had nearly torn their world apart. The ancient trees whispered the stories to each new generation, a somber reminder that even in the most serene of places, darkness could take root if one's own mind was not tended to a care. If you enjoyed this story, please give a like and subscribe for more haunting stories. And remember, you never know what might be standing behind you watching your every move.